Louis Vuitton is a top luxury brand globally, worth more than $30 billion. Its story started long ago in the 1800s with a young boy who had nothing but big dreams. He didn't have money or even enough to eat. He had to do all sorts of different jobs with skilled workers just to get by. His skills helped him build a huge, successful business worth billions of dollars. In this video, let's listen to the story of Louis Vuitton and how it has become one of the most successful luxury brands now. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell button so you won't miss any of our latest videos. Louis Vuitton was born and raised in Angers, France during the 19th century. His parents were a farmer and a hat maker. Back then, France was still recovering from the Napoleonic Wars, and many families, including the Vuittons, were struggling financially. Louis had to start working on the family farm when he was young, from planting crops to taking care of animals. Life became even harder when he was 10 years old and his mother passed away. His father remarried, and Louis found himself with a stepmother who made his life very difficult, like the mean characters in fairy tales. Eventually, Louis couldn't take it anymore. When he was 13 years old, he quietly left the farm and made his way to Paris. Luckily, Louis found jobs working with artisans and craftsmen who taught him various skills like working with metal, stone, fabrics, and wood. However, despite working hard, he didn't have any money left for a place to stay, so he ended up homeless. Around that time, the first railway line to Paris had just opened, making travel easier and starting a boom in the industry. Craftsmen took advantage of this by making special boxes for wealthy people who traveled a lot. These boxes needed to be sturdy to protect valuable items like paintings and furniture during long journeys. They also needed someone skilled to pack their things properly to keep them from getting damaged. Because Louis had picked up some of these skills while traveling to Paris, he decided to try to find work in this trade. A craftsman named Monsieur Maréchal hired him as an apprentice. Even though Louis didn't earn much money, he was eager to learn. He became well liked by Maréchal's clients, and eventually, the Empress of France chose him to make her personal boxes. After working for the Empress for a year, Louis became even more popular, and he decided to open his shop. In the early days, Louis had innovative ideas that revolutionized the way things were done in the industry. Back then, traditional boxes were typically made of leather and had a rectangular shape with domed lids. This design was meant to keep water from seeping into the leather, but it made the boxes difficult to stack and load. To solve these problems, Louis tried out different materials and eventually settled on using canvas instead of leather. Canvas was lighter, tougher, and more resistant to water compared to leather. This allowed for simpler, flat lids on the boxes, making them easier to stack. Even though the waterproofing process made the canvas turn gray, it gave the boxes a cleaner, more modern look. With canvas, Louis crafted a new kind of trunk called a slat trunk. This innovative product marked the beginning of what we now recognize as modern luggage. Initially, customers were in doubt. However, within just 2 years, his creations became hugely popular and were seen as stylish, essential accessories. Later on, Louis turned his attention to reinventing handbags. Back then, many people thought handbags weren't fashionable. Despite this, Louis saw potential in handbags and started making them using canvas. Surprisingly, they became a huge hit. People loved them and wanted different styles to match their outfits. As demand grew, Louis couldn't keep up with the orders, so he brought in his son, Georges, for help. Georges was just as innovative as his father. He invented a special lock for the trunks that made them more secure, like treasure chests, to prevent theft. Before that, most trunks had locks that were easy to pick. The Vuitton family's products became even more popular because of these improvements. During the peak of Louis Vuitton's success, a devastating war called the Franco-Prussian War broke out. Louis and his family had to leave their home and workshop in Asnières and seek refuge in the city. They ended up living in a crowded shelter along with thousands of other people who had also been displaced by the war. Food was extremely scarce, and the Vuitton family struggled to avoid starvation. When the war finally ended, Louis returned home, only to find his materials stolen and his workshop destroyed. It was a heartbreaking sight, but Louis didn't give up. With what little money he had left, he quickly set to work rebuilding his workshop and finding a new location for his shop. He was determined to get back on his feet and restart his business. The war had caused property prices to drop, which turned out to be a silver lining for Louis. He saw this as an opportunity and wisely invested in purchasing a shop in a fancy part of town. Once he reopened his business, things picked up quickly. Orders started pouring in, and Louis found himself with more business than ever before. Feeling confident and ambitious, Louis decided to explore new ideas. At that time, technology had progressed enough to allow for custom patterns to be printed on fabric. Since canvas is a type of fabric, Louis seized this chance to create a line of trunks covered in a distinctive striped pattern. This bold, new design became an instant hit. It allowed people to express their style and keep up with the latest trends. Plus, it made it harder for copycats to imitate Louis's original work. The success of the new design led to an influx of international orders. Louis soon expanded his business by opening a shop in London to cater to his growing clientele abroad. Louis Vuitton's expansion into new markets meant that his clientele became more diverse. Alongside the elite, he started serving royalty and adventurers. His products weren't just found in luxurious homes, but also in far-flung rainforests, used by explorers on their journeys. As his business grew, Louis recognized the need for a more organized way for customers to place orders. So, he made the practical decision to release his first catalog. This move was expected to take the business to even greater heights. However, tragedy struck unexpectedly. Louis Vuitton passed away suddenly in his home at the age of 72. It was a sad turn of events for the man who had built a global empire from humble beginnings. With Louis Vuitton's sudden passing, the responsibility of carrying on his legacy fell to his son, Georges. Georges wasted no time in stepping up to grow the business, and he had big plans. He traveled to the United States to attend the World's Fair, an experience that opened his eyes to the need for an international sales network. Georges met someone at the fair who could help him achieve this goal, John Wanamaker. John was a pioneer in the retail industry, known for inventing the department store concept and introducing the price tag. After meeting Georges, he saw the potential of Louis Vuitton's brand and decided to start selling LV products in his New York department store. This made Wanamaker's store the first in the United States to carry the Louis Vuitton brand. Georges wanted to honor his father's legacy in a special way, so he came up with a monogram featuring a floral pattern with the letters L and V intertwined. When customers first saw this monogram on products, they were surprised. They were used to personalize their bags with their names or initials, not with a brand logo. However, over time, people's tastes changed, and the new design became very popular. Georges and his son, Gaston, continued to innovate and create new designs. Some of their notable creations included the Keepall, a bag perfect for everyday use, the Noe, designed to carry wine and champagne bottles, and a revamped version of a bag originally commissioned by Coco Chanel called the Alma. Georges also traveled extensively throughout the United States, establishing a strong distribution network for the brand. Like his father, Georges was determined to take the business to new heights and ensure its continued success. Sadly, Georges' passing echoed a familiar pattern, leaving his son Gaston to carry on Louis's legacy alone. However, Gaston faced a string of unfortunate events from the start. As Gaston took over, the world was thrown into chaos once again with the outbreak of the Second World War. Contracts were canceled, and Gaston was forced to make the difficult decision to close down all Louis Vuitton factories and stores. In a desperate bid to survive during this tumultuous time, there are claims made in Louis Vuitton, a French saga, that Gaston collaborated with the ruling party in Germany. Allegedly, He approved the production of commemorative busts and even set up a shop in Vichy. According to the author, while other luxury shops like Van Cleef and Arpels were forced to close, only Louis Vuitton was allowed to open for business. After World War II, Gaston handed control of the company to his sons, Henri, Jacques, and Claude. With their father's guidance, they introduced new luggage models each year. However, after Gaston's death, the business began to struggle. Hard-sided luggage fell out of favor, and the brothers disagreed on the company's direction. To resolve these issues, they brought in Henri Racamier, their sister's husband, to lead the company. Racamier, a successful businessman, shifted Louis Vuitton's focus to retail and expanded into the Asian market. Under Racamier's leadership, Louis Vuitton experienced significant growth. Sales soared from 20 million to over 260 million within 6 years. The company went public but faced challenges from counterfeit goods. Despite this, Racamier expanded Louis Vuitton globally. Louis Vuitton merged with Moet Hennessy to form LVMH, but internal disputes arose. Racamier brought in Bernard Arnault for support, but Arnault took control of LVMH, leading to a legal battle and Racamier's departure. Afterward, Louis Vuitton struggled, but under Yves Carcel's leadership, it collaborated with designers like Vivienne Westwood and Isaac Mizrahi. Marc Jacobs became creative director, expanding into new product lines and maintaining craftsmanship. Today, Louis Vuitton is the world's leading luxury brand, valued at over $30 billion. Its journey from a homeless teenager's vision to a billion-dollar empire showcases innovation, resilience, and dedication to excellence. Now that you know the history of Louis Vuitton, are you more inspired to work harder for you to succeed? What makes the brand Louis Vuitton stand out? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tap the notification button to stay updated on our new videos.